everyone, my name's Natasha and I'm cooking with Kensington Scott today. I'm going to cook you a lovely summer dish that consists of lamb rump with a pepper sauce, a courgette and basil puree and some sweet potato croquettes. So let's get started with the relish. So for the relish, you could normally start this at the beginning of the day and all you need is some chopped pistachios, some pink peppercorns, some capers and some shallots. So we're going to mix that in a bowl. Put that there. And we're just adding our shallots as well. They don't have to be finely chopped, you can just roughly chop them. A little bit of salt. And we're also going to add 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar. And we're also going to add 1 tablespoon of caster sugar. And then we're just going to give that a stir. So we're just going to add 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. So you'll keep this relish in the fridge, preferably overnight, but if you're just going to keep it in there for about 6 to 8 hours, then that will be fine. So we've got our relish in the fridge and now we're going to work on marinating our lamb. So I'm using today lamb rump steaks, which are quite a cut that you don't normally get in your supermarket really, but they're actually really inexpensive. I mean, these 4 cost under £10. So they're really good value and they cook really quick and they taste yum. So for the marinade, we're going to use quite smoky notes for this lamb. And I'm just going to do 2 steaks today. Save those 2 there. So inside we will have some Aleppo pepper, which is actually used for pul biber, which is a Turkish seasoning, which is one of my favourites with lamb. So I'm just going to put that in there now. We've also got some sweet paprika. You can use some hotter paprika if you like, an extra kick, but the Aleppo pepper is actually quite spicy. And then we're just going to add some smoked salt. And we're also going to add a glug of oil. And then we're going to get in and mix that around so that the lamb's fully coated. And again, you can do this in the morning and leave it to marinate for a few hours, but just make sure that you take it out at least an hour before cooking so that it has time to get to room temperature. So yeah, that's all nice and coated now. And those are now ready to go into the fridge as well. So next I'm going to set up the water, ready to do the sweet potato croquettes. Wow, I love this. Okay. So we're just going to let that boil and then we're going to prep the sweet potatoes and add them when the water is boiling. So I'm just using 2 sweet potatoes because that should be enough for 2 people. We're aiming to have about 3 to 4 croquettes on each plate. So I'm just going to peel and chop them up ready to go in the pan. So we're using sweet potato today to add a bit of sweetness to the dish because we've got actually quite a lot of acidic components in the dish. So we've got the relish and then also we've got the basil and the courgettes and the yellow pepper sauce. So this will just heighten the flavours even more for you. So handy having that there. You don't have to be too perfect with this chopping, it's only going to go mashed up anyway. So that will go into the pan once it's ready and boiling. So our water is bubbling very nicely now, so I'm just going to turn that down. There we go, and it's nice and simmering so we can add our sweet potatoes in. and we can let that simmer away nicely for approximately 10 minutes. So our 10 minutes is up, so I'm just going to check that the potatoes are ready. Just want it so that when you put your fork in, it goes through nice, which it is. So that's perfect. We can take that off the heat now. Whilst they're cooling down, we can start with the courgette and basil puree. So for this, I'm just using your regular green courgettes. And what we need to do is cut off the tops and the ends of them, and then try to miss out the seeds because it can add a bit too much water to the sauce. It might seem like it's quite wasteful, but actually you can use these courgettes raw, which we will be actually using in the dish anyway, and you can use them the next couple of days in stir fries or salads, so you won't be wasting it. We just need the skin and the main bits of flesh for the puree that we're doing today. So I'm just finishing prepping my courgettes, and as you can see, I'm just going to portion them up, then put them in the pan with some butter and saute them slightly. And we don't want the temperature of the pan to be too hot because we literally don't want to colour the courgettes. It's just to saute them slightly. Good knob of butter in there. Heat up nicely, and we can just add the courgettes. Those hidden ones there. Nice, so we're just going to wait for that to warm up. Just going to give it a little stir to get the butter coated the courgettes nicely. And whilst that is starting to warm up, I'm just going to add some water into this pan, because when we are going to add the basil to the puree, ideally we like to blanch it first, so that just helps break down the chemicals and release more of the colour. Okay. And it only literally needs to be in that boiling water for approximately 20 seconds, and then we're going to take it out and put it straight into some ice cold water to stop the cooking process. See how these courgettes are getting on. Might just turn it up a bit more. Okay, add a little bit of salt as well, just for extra seasoning. And a smidge of pepper. That's sizzling, so we just want to keep it moving again so that we don't colour the courgettes. You'll literally be cooking it for approximately 5 minutes total. So the courgettes are sautéing nicely now and our water's boiling, so I'm just going to move this off of the heat slightly there. That should stop cooking that hob. And then we're going to add our basil just for 20 seconds. I'm going to include the stalks on this because they add great flavour as well. And we're literally just going to pop it in. Be careful of your fingers. I've got asbestos hands. And that should help, again, as I said, break down some of the chemicals and bring out some nice bright green colours. And then we literally are just going to scoop it out and put it in some cold, ice cold water to stop any cooking process going on. And now we're ready to transfer both ingredients to the blitzer and blend it into a puree. So our puree is blitzed and blended, and I'm just giving it a good stir, and we're just going to add it to the bowl where we actually blanch the basil without the water. Just so, again, it stops any cooking process because the courgettes were obviously still warm when we blitzed them. Look at that vibrant green colour. There we go. That's perfect, so we can leave that to one side, ready for plating later. Now I'm going to finish the croquette balls, ready to chill and for frying. So the sweet potato should now be cool enough for you to handle. I'm going to add it back into the pan so that we can mash it up easily. I'm going to add a drop of oil because I don't want it to be too wet. Just a little drop as they've been sitting out. And And the secret ingredient we're using today is a little touch of anchovy paste, just for the saltness. I won't going to add any other salt into this, and obviously it's a sweet potato, but anchovy goes really well with lamb, and also it will complement the sweet potato as well. So you don't need too much of this, don't go crazy, because it is very strong. So about a teaspoon should be enough for the quantities that we're doing today. Okay, that way. And we're also going to add some rosemary. I always like to add fresh herbs where possible, and again, rosemary, lamb, all good combinations. So I'm just literally going to Okay, we can start mashing our potatoes. You just want it to be a smoothish consistency, because sweet potato is a bit harder to form into croquettes than normal potato would be because of the starch levels. Whoopsie. Just give it a small taste as well, just to see if you've got enough anchovy. I might add a little bit more. Mash. Always need tons of teaspoons when cooking. Obviously this is to preference, you may not want it as salty, but I want to taste a bit more of the anchovy if possible. Mix that all in. Transfer that away. So yeah, so you can see that it's a nice mash consistency. I'm going to roll these up. These don't need to be too big, probably about just a bit smaller than a golf ball. So I've rolled out my balls, and now they're ready to go into the fridge to chill before frying. So I'm going to pop them in the fridge now. Move this out of our way. And the next component we're going to work on is the pepper sauce. So for that you will need a yellow pepper and a red pepper and a clove of garlic. So we're going to take some of the garlic and we'll get started prepping that now. So I'm just going to chop the pepper first, obviously discard the seeds. And actually we can use the top bit as well. It's not to waste any part of it. We have our pepper prepped. I'm just going to get a clove out of this. And I love garlic in my food, so I probably would use 2 cloves, but if you don't want to, then 1 is perfectly fine. So I'm just going to put the pan on the hob now, and that's going to be on a medium to high heat. So I'm just going to add some butter, another generous knob, and then add the pepper. Doesn't matter if you get a few of the seeds in either, they're not going to kill you. Ideally you wouldn't have too many in there. And the garlic, so I've chopped 2 cloves up. Again, it could be roughly chopped, so it's all going to be blended again to quite a fine sauce. And then we're just going to get that stirring. So whilst that cooks, I've literally got some pre-boiled water here, and I'm going to add some stock to it, some vegetable stock to it. And we can add that into our mixture when that's cooked down slightly more. just looking to soften the peppers right now because again this will be blended, and another vibrant contrast to the courgette and basil puree as well. You shouldn't need to add any salt or pepper to this because the stock should provide enough salt, although we're only going to use a tiny bit because peppers can be quite watery as well. And just make sure you keep it moving so that the garlic and the peppers don't catch any colour. Just going to add drop of water. And this is just your veg stock powder. And I'm going to give that a stir. And let that cook down for 5 minutes. So now our peppers and garlic and stock mixture are ready to go and be blitzed, ready to be a sauce. So we've blitzed our sauce and now I'm just going to sieve it through to get a nice smooth texture. You can see it's very vibrant. Now this sauce is quite runny, but if you want it to be slightly thicker, we can add some corn flour to it. But I'm just going to sieve it through now and have a look at the texture afterwards. Perfect. So yeah, we're going to heat that up slightly. Just to keep it warm. We'll keep an eye on it and give it a stir occasionally, and close to the time if I think it needs thickening we'll add some corn flour and water to it. We've got our sauce warming up nicely on a low heat, and now we're going to cook the lamb. So I'm going to crank the heat up. You want it quite high, and once it starts to smoke a little we can then put the lamb in fat down first because I want to make sure that the fat's nice and rendered. Hopefully we should hear a nice sizzle. I'm just going to render down the fat nicely for about a minute or so, and then we can turn them on their sides. Approximately, you probably need to cook these for about 4 minutes in total. I like my meat quite rare, so if you do like your meat more well done, you can obviously add another minute or so on. And actually with this cut of meat, it actually does taste nice, well done, so don't worry if you've done it slightly over to what your normal preference would be, it will still taste yum. A bit of a move around. Just going to flip them over now after 2 minutes. You can see that one side is cooking a bit more than the other. Just move them around slightly. I'm just going to get a plate ready to rest the meat because that's a highly vital part of cooking. Just going to render the fat down a little bit more. Lamb fat tastes amazing when it's rendered down. I think we can take that one off. See that seasoning has taken a nice colour as well. Put that on the plate. Take that off the heat. And we're going to let the meat rest for about 15 minutes and we can get on with making our croquettes. So now we're going to prepare our croquettes for frying. So this is my dredging station. So that will normally consist of flour, egg and breadcrumbs. You can use fine breadcrumbs or panko breadcrumbs. Even sometimes add a bit of parmesan in or some pistachios just to get a bit of extra crunch. So our balls have been chilling in the fridge, so it helps with the structure because especially sweet potato is quite soft. So first just going to dip them all in to the flour. And now we're going to go to the egg, which can be quite messy. And then into the breadcrumbs. Give them a good coating. And then we can put them back. And there you have it. The temperature of the fryer is normally between 180 to 190, but 180 is always a good place to start. I'm going to prop them in carefully. We'll do 2 batches, 3, because otherwise it does cool down the oil. And then we'll leave them in there for about 3 to 4 minutes until they're nice and golden brown. So the croquettes are done, they're all nice and crispy, and the sauce is done. So now we're just literally going to get ready to plate up. So I've just finished cutting up the meat and I've cooked it well enough in my preference. I'm going to leave it on the boards here because sometimes the juices can interfere with the rest of the plating. So we're just going to add a little bit of our sauce here, mainly for decoration. And we've got some of our nasturtium leaves, which have quite a nice bitter taste, which will complement the lamb very well. And then on our actual plate, we've got our courgette and basil puree. Ooh, strong of basil, it's lovely. I'm just going to put some there. So these are nice. Smudge that along there. Get that there. So we've got our croquettes. Put that there. We've got some of our heirloom tomatoes that we've used as garnish, and it actually goes really well with the relish. Quite a vibrant looking plate, perfect for summer. And then we've got our relish, and this is one that I did make earlier, blue Peter style. And we're just going to dot that around the plate, so these will be nice bites of acidity to contrast with the lamb and also your sweet potato. And then we're just going to add some more of our leaves. And we've also got some smaller basil leaves just to add another kick of flavour. Please. Getting really small into the detail now. And then our lamb, we can just put some of the pieces on the plate. Yeah, there you go.